The Tyrant's Beloved Empress. Chapter 68. Protect him well. The carriage stopped in front of the crafting workshop. Without waiting for Xiao Zhiga to help him alight, and Changqing got off the carriage and walked in briskly. Xiao Zhiga could only shake his head helplessly and follow behind closely. The crafting workshop was erected next to the ordnance office. In the front was the entrance hall, behind which was the craftsman's lodgings, and at the innermost area was the backyard where the craftsman worked. It was also where the water wheel was placed. And Changqing entered together with the foreman and saw the 10-foot-tall water wheel attached to wooden tubes for water intake and a trough at the bottom for diverting the water. There was almost no difference with what he had seen from his previous life. "Have you tried this in the water?" And Changqing asked. The foreman replied respectfully, "Not yet. But previously, we created a smaller version and tested it in water. However, due to the small size, there was not enough water for it to work. We adjusted and created a bigger one instead." And Changqing looked up and thought of the water wheel he saw in his previous life. A single wheel could irrigate 2 acres of farmland, if he could develop this technology in advance. "When can you test this in water?" "We'll be conducting the test today. I've especially invited Wangye to come and observe and let us know if there's anything that needs to be improved." And Changqing was highly satisfied with the remarkable working speed of the craftsman. He nodded and said, "Go ahead. If this succeeds, you will be handsomely rewarded." The foreman heard his words and was even more enthusiastic. He quickly called for people to proceed transporting the water wheel. The craftsmen were only specialized in their fields and could barely make a living. With Wangfei's creation of the workshop, not only were they receiving decent salaries, they were also appreciated for their profession. Most importantly, Wangfei had suggested many new innovations, making the craftsmen highly respectful towards him. The craftsman disassembled the water wheel and had it transported by ox carts to the pre-excavated site. There, they would reassemble the water wheel and immerse it in the river. As the water current passed through, the wheel slowly turned, trapping water in the attached wooden tubes. As the wheel continued to turn, the water in the tubes overflowed and poured into the basin, which then distributed the water downhill through the ditches that were dug beforehand. And Changqing exhaled the breath that he had been holding and exclaimed, "It really worked." Seeing the water wheel operating, Xiao Zhiga, who disapproved of letting Changqing come over here and thus followed him, was nonetheless touched by the sight. No one knew better than him the importance that this water wheel would bring to the people of Yanzhou and even to the whole of Dayet. In the future, they only needed to excavate the rivers and install the water wheel, and the irrigation work that required heavy manpower could be done effortlessly. Efficient irrigation would also lead to healthy crop growth and increase in crop yield. With the people freed from the time-consuming and laborious work of fetching water, they would in turn have more time to work on other things. Perhaps in the years to come, Yanzhou might no longer be a barren city, rife with poverty. Xiao Zhiga's eyes were filled with affection as he looked at the person by his side. "The water wheel has been developed successfully. It is of great benefit to the people. The craftsmen will receive monetary rewards, but what about me?" And Changqing thought for a second and smiled playfully, "I want Wangye to stop nagging me." Xiao Zhiga stayed silent for a while, but he still compromised in the end. "I'll stop nagging you, but you have to be careful. Although things are still unconfirmed, we still can't act as though nothing's happened." And Changqing's eyes smiled. He took Xiao Zhiga's hand and swayed, "I know my limits. You, on the other hand, how long have you not had a full night's sleep?" He stroked the dark patch under Xiao Zhiga's eyes. Xiao Zhiga had always been tough. During battles, he could forego sleep and rest without showing any signs of fatigue. However, after knowing that Changqing was pregnant, he hadn't had a decent night's sleep since. He would stay up through the night to watch over Changqing, and in the morning, he would stay close to protect him. Even the many affairs of the military had been brought back to the manor to be handled so he could stay close to Changqing. Changqing could more or less understand his concerns, but there wasn't much he could do to reassure Xiao Zhiga except to show him that he was physically healthy. At least this way, he could be relieved of some of his worries. Seeing you this way, others might think that there's a spirit-sucking demon at home, Changqing added jokingly. Xiao Zhiga chuckled. He nodded with a slightly serious expression and said, there is indeed a demon at home. It's just that he hasn't been sucking away my spirit for quite some time now. Of course, Changqing could tell what he was insinuating. He gave him a glare and snorted, I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm going to check on the water wheel. Xiao Zhiga's hand was pushed away, but he still followed closely behind Changqing, guarding him as he walked along the slippery riverside. The first water wheel was on a trial run for 5 days before it was officially introduced to the public. The water wheel was crafted by the craftsman and paid for by the magistrate. Now, the farmers only had to dig and plant. And to demonstrate its usefulness, 3 water wheels had been erected and put to use. The people were surprised at the water wheel's efficiency. The farmers told to help with excavating the river and digging trenches no longer complained about the work. Now that they knew the importance of the water wheel, and since the magistrate had prepared the water wheel, they were more than happy to provide the labor. And so that summer, in addition to farming, the people of Yanzhou also heartily built trenches to prepare for the water wheel. By the 8th month, the construction of the outer city had proceeded past the midway mark. Along with that, the installation of the water wheel had also been completed. The trenches carrying water now flowed through the thousands of acres of farmland, cultivating the fields. Although there was still much to improve, Yanzhou was already showing signs that it would prosper in the future. In the beginning of the 8th month, several carriages escorted by guards entered Yanzhou and made their way towards the general's mansion. Changqing had already received the news and was waiting at the gate. When he saw the approaching carriage, he couldn't help but take a few big steps forward. Lady Yu was looking out the window at the same time and met Changqing's eyes. With a slightly trembling voice, Changqing called out, "Mother." After their farewell in Yejing, the mother and son had not seen each other for 6 months. Without waiting for the servants to bring the stool, Lady Yu lifted the curtain and eagerly alighted the carriage. She carefully observed Changqing, and after seeing that he had a healthy complexion and a rounder face, she smiled and said, "You've gained some weight and have even gotten taller." Xian Yu got off the carriage after Lady Yu and said, "Mother has been worrying that life in Yanzhou was too hard on you. I kept telling her that she's being worried for nothing." Lady Yu gave Xian Yu a disapproving look. As her concerns had not been relieved, she turned back to Changqing and asked, "The last letter you sent, could it be that you've encountered a problem?" Seeing the anxiety in her expression, Changqing knew that Lady Yu must have known something. As this was not an appropriate place to talk, Changqing led her into the manor first. Since Changqing had informed them that they would be living in Yanzhou for some time, the 2 ladies had brought all their belongings with them. The maids they brought along followed the servants of the manor to help move and unpack their luggages, while Changqing and Xiao Zhiga led Lady Yu and Xian Yu to the main hall for dinner. After eating, Xiao Zhiga saw that Lady Yu was still listless and suggested that they go to the study. Lady Yu could already guess that there must be something wrong with Changqing's body. She sighed and followed behind them. As for Xian Yu, she was clueless, and initially, Lady Yu did not want her to come along, but Xiao Zhiga said that they were all family and she was bound to know sooner or later. And hence, the 4 people entered the study together. Although Xian Yu did not know what was happening, she understood from their somber expression that it was something serious. She sat quietly and listened to her elders talk. Xiao Zhiga ordered the guards outside to keep watch of the door and then went on to close all the doors and windows before sitting down next to Changqing. For a minute, the atmosphere had turned heavy. Nonetheless, it was Lady Yu who spoke first. Is something wrong with Nu No's body? And Changqing's eyes moved as he said, Mother, are you hiding something from me? Lady Yu remained silent for a long time before she finally nodded, I plan to tell no one and bring it to the grave with me. Unfortunately, from Changqing's letters asking her about the mermaid tribe and the red marking, her worries were justified. She put her thoughts in order and slowly asked, are scales and red markings appearing on your body? Scales. And Changqing's eyes widened and he asked with some confusion, what scales? I only have red scaled-like spots behind my ear. After speaking, he turned his head and pulled his hair aside, revealing a patch of red fish scale pattern on his skin. Lady Yu's eyes trembled as she ran her fingers over the red marking. That's it? Why is it showing up again? She then frantically checked Changqing's face and neck and was relieved that it was normal. Does mother know what these red markings are? Xiao Zhiga asked. I do not know. Unexpectedly, Lady Yu shook her head and said, but when he was 4, Nu No was stricken with this anomaly before and it was much more serious. The red scales appeared all over his face, neck, and chest. On both his feet, the scale patches were bigger and more prominent. And Changqing was taken aback. He had never known that this had happened when he was young. Lady Yu smiled bitterly and continued, you were too young. And at that time, you also had a high fever, so you probably don't remember. Haven't you always wondered why your father suddenly started hating us? This was the reason. She no longer felt the pain as she calmly began to recount the past. It happened when Changqing was only 4 and Xianyu had just turned 1. Lady Yu and Zhikao were still a loving couple. Although she was only a concubine, she was not greedy for more. All she wanted was a peaceful life for her and her 2 children. Alas, even such a simple wish was shattered when Changqing fell into a coma after developing a high fever. Lady Yu had invited a physician to check on her son and Zhikao, being worried for Changqing, had followed along. As soon as the physician lifted the bed curtain and saw the red marks on Changqing, he was badly frightened and called him an ill-omened demon. Zhikao went through great lengths to make sure that the physician kept what he saw a secret. Lady Yu was grief-stricken when she found that the scale-like spots had spread to Changqing's leg. She intuitively asked her husband to save their son, but it was as though Zhikao had turned into another person. With stone-cold eyes, he wanted to take Changqing out and kill him outright. Although he did not say it, he had agreed with the physician and thought of Changqing as a demon. At that time, he was about to be promoted to the prime minister position. He couldn't allow this scourge to ruin everything. The son that he had once doted on was nothing compared to his own future prospects. In the end, it was Lady Yu's threat to end her life that saved Changqing. But since then, Zhikao had come to hate the mother and son. As he believed that Changqing was indeed a demon, he made them stay at the farthest and most remote courtyard. They were not allowed to ever leave the inn manor and Zhikao never looked for them again. Your father forbade me from calling for a physician again, so I could only wipe your body with clean water and feed you porridge. Luckily, heaven did not forsake a mother's love. Changqing's fever gradually subsided and so did the red markings. After 6 months, the red markings on his face had disappeared and the scales on his legs slowly shed off. Lady Yu did not speak of the incident again. What had happened that day, the only other people who knew were the physician and Zhikao. And even after Changqing had recovered from his illness, Zhikao had lost all his love for him and Lady Yu. As Lady Yu was also not an ambitious woman, and after witnessing Zhikao's heartless rejection of their son, she willingly moved to the remote courtyard and lived her life discreetly with her 2 children. As time flew by, her children grew up and she had eventually put the matter behind her. It wasn't until Changqing married to Xiao Zhiga that she recalled the occurrence of the strange marks and became worried. But alas, there was no avoiding the inevitable. Laju Yu looked at her quiet son and forced a smile, luckily it's only a small patch. It shouldn't be visible with your hair covering it. She then turned to Xiao Zhiga and said with a gentle expression, it's a good thing that Wangye does not mind. Ever since she received An Changqing's letter asking her about the mermaid tribe, she couldn't stop worrying that An Changqing's strange illness had resurfaced, and because of that, he might be alienated and treated badly in Yanzhou. However, the moment she saw her son, she knew that a coward like An Zhikao could never be compared to the magnanimous northern warlord. His love for An Changqing was unconcealable. Instead of being afraid of An Changqing's strange body and treating him as a demon, he was actually concerned for his well-being. End chapter. The Tyrant's Beloved Empress. Chapter 69. You are different. When An Changqing was little, he had always wondered why his father would treat him differently from all his brothers. Whether it was the An family's New Year banquet or an acquaintance's invitation, he would always be left out and ignored. To make matters worse, the servants would occasionally mock him by reminding him of the old days when he and Lady Yu were still the apple of An Zhikao's eyes. But the more he listened and hoped, the more far-fetched those glorious days felt. Gradually, he only felt helplessness and disappointment in his father and learned to not expect anything from him. But the question still lingered, and as he dared not ask Lady Yu for fear it would bring up unpleasant memories for her, he could only keep them buried in his heart. Later, after being with Xiao Zhiga and learning to let go of his grievances regarding An Zhikao, he no longer felt any attachment to his father. Unexpectedly, after he had finally let go, the knot he had always felt since childhood had finally been unraveled. Such a reason to hate his son, although seemingly ridiculously, did suit An Zhikao's narrow-mindedness nature. With this, the remaining dissonance in his heart dissipated. An Changqing saw Lady Yu's listless expression and held her hand to comfort her. The red mark is not a big deal. What I wanted to ask you is something else. At this point, An Changqing found it hard to continue. He looked towards Xiao Zhiga for support and encouragement. He then took a deep breath and spoke to Lady Yu, do you remember me asking you about the mermaid tribe? For the mermaid tribe, there is no distinction in gender, and those who bear the red marks are able to conceive. I probably have mermaid blood and I can give birth. The nervous An Changqing subconsciously touched his abdomen and finally disclosed his secret, I'm almost 4 months pregnant. Mother, you're about to become a grandmother. Lady Yu seemed to partly understand what she heard but also partly couldn't understand it. She looked at An Changqing with a blank expression on her face. An Changqing thought she needed time to digest the information, so he kept quiet and waited. After a long while, Lady Yu let out a deep breath and said, is that true? Will it affect your health? She then beckoned him to stand up and carefully looked at his belly. It's already been 4 months but you don't seem to show any symptoms. Is it possible the physician has made a mistake? How's it possible that our family carries the mermaid bloodline? Lady Yu suddenly remembered that she did not know anything about her birth parents nor her bloodline. She thought deeply and finally sighed with guilt, this is my fault, I brought this upon you. Because she came from the brothel, her children were frequently ostracized for it, and now, due to her unknown bloodline, her eldest son was clearly a man but had gotten pregnant. How is it your fault? I won't be here if you didn't give birth to me. And Changqing saw her guilt-stricken look and tried to comfort her, although it was too sudden and unbelievable at first. I've come to believe that this child is a blessing. Wangye also feels the same, isn't it right? And Changqing looked towards Xiao Zhiga and gave him a wink. Xiao Zhiga immediately responded positively, that's right. This child carries new nose and my blood, we are really looking forward to having him. It's just that a man conceiving is unheard of, so we are only checking if mother has any knowledge of this. Lady Yu earnestly tried to recall her past, but she really couldn't remember anything about her birth parents. Her earliest memories were of her being sold to the brothel where she was taught poetry, calligraphy, and music. As she got older, her reputation spread and she began serving more esteemed guests. It was then that she met and fell in love with An Zhikao and eventually married him. I really have no recollection. The only item that could provide any clue is the twin fish jade pendant that was left together with my baby swaddle. Because there is the character you carved on it, I've taken it as my surname. The couple had thought that if anyone should know about the mermaid tribe, it would be Lady Yu, but it seemed she was not in the know either. They could only sigh inwardly, and to avoid making Lady Yu blame herself, and Changqing comforted, "It's all right if mother doesn't know, Wangye will have someone investigate this. You've been on the road these few days and should be tired by now. I have told Enfu to prepare the courtyard, why don't you go have a rest first?" Lady Yu sighed and could only agree to follow them to the courtyard to settle down. Seeing that everything in the courtyard had been in place, and Changqing and Xiao Zhiga returned to their room after making sure that Lady Yu and Xianyu had comfortably settled in. Lately, and Changqing had been feeling drowsy and needed to rest early. Xiao Zhiga was well aware of this new habit. After bathing, he brought out a small wooden basin filled with warm water for An Changqing to soak his feet. The weather was hot on the 8th month. And Changqing was wearing a loose and short robe, exposing his ivory white calves. Xiao Zhiga did not mind if it was a menial task for the servants. He bent down to help An Changqing take off his shoes and soaked his feet in the warm water. The man knelt on one knee and placed An Changqing's foot on his other knee. He then began kneading An Changqing's sole. The usually cold and expressionless face was only ever gentle when facing An Changqing. It was an affectionate expression no one else had seen. An Changqing pursed his lips and showed a smile. "If people were to find out that the northern warlord washes his Wangfei's feet, I'm afraid you won't be able to maintain your authority. Authority is only used to treat outsiders. No is naturally different." Xiao Zhiga responded while keeping his focus on massaging An Changqing. An Changqing was thinking about teasing him, but Xiao Zhiga's words unexpectedly pierced his heart. An Changqing stretched his foot and touched Xiao Zhiga's chest with the tip of his toe and said, "Wangye is also different." Xiao Zhiga raised his head and looked at him, his eyes filled with affection. An Changqing smiled back at him and said the words he had been keeping in his heart, "I'm only willing to give birth to Wangye's child. If it had been someone else, and even if he knew he could give birth, regardless whether it was safe or not, as a man, he would still not agree to keep the child." But since this person was Xiao Zhiga, all feelings of uneasiness and unacceptance were replaced with joy. Just like Xiao Zhiga refusing to take in a concubine and cutting off his own bloodline to prove his devotion towards him, he could also overcome the psychological discomfort of having a child within him. As long as he thought of how this child would carry Xiao Zhiga's blood, all his anxieties were turned into conviction. And Xiao Zhiga's every word and action only strengthened this conviction. Now that he looked back at their previous lives, apart from feeling regret over his cowardice and passivity, he was also grateful for this life. Grateful that the heavens had given him a chance to start over, grateful that on the day of their wedding, he had reached out to hold his hands. That was the start of their life together. From then on, despite any storms and hardship, they will get through it together. Xiao Zhiga dried his feet with a towel and then planted a soft kiss on the top of his foot and said lovingly, "It's been hard on you, no?" And Changqing rolled himself into the blanket with some embarrassment. He peeked out from the blanket, smiled and said, "Not as bad as on Wangye." Xiao Zhiga saw his smile and his Adam's apple moved. "It's nothing worth mentioning. I'm going to pour out the water." After speaking, he picked up the water bucket and walked out. Although his pace was steady, there was a slight panic in his step. And Changqing waited for him to get into bed and snuggled into his arms. Ever since they have confirmed An Changqing's pregnancy, Xiao Zhiga had been strictly following what could and shouldn't be done. Thus, when things got overwhelming for him, he would simply go out to train and drain his energy before coming back. And Changqing had been feeling a little frisky himself and began touching Xiao Zhiga with some naughty intentions. Xiao Zhiga took a deep breath and tried to control his urge. He hugged An Changqing's shoulder to keep him from moving. An Changqing pouted and complained, "Doctor, who said it's fine after the first trimester?" Xiao Zhiga was slightly tempted by his insistence, but considering the unusual nature of An Changqing's pregnancy, he dared not take any risks. He straightened his resolve by holding An Changqing tightly to restrict his wandering hands and ordered, "Stop talking. Go to sleep." Since his scheme fell through, An Changqing sulked and obediently rested his head against Xiao Zhiga's chest to sleep. ******. The next day, An Changqing went out with Lady Yu and An Xianyu. Back in Yejing, strict customs restricted the ladies of noble families from leaving the house, but these rules did not apply to Yanzhou. They could leave the manor anytime they wanted. The streets of Yanzhou had become livelier compared to when An Changqing had first arrived. Without having to worry about the Baidi's invasion, the people had set up shops and stalls, and the bustling sound of the marketplace could be heard clearly. Initially, the stores did not do very well, but with the arrival of the common man's army, the populace increased, and with the money they earned from working on the farms and the constructions, they could turn to the local stores to procure items that they needed. This had in turn made the streets increasingly crowded. Lady Yu and An Xianyu, who for years had believed that Yanzhou was a desolate wasteland, were surprised at the sight. Yanzhou was a much livelier and prosperous place than they had imagined. An Changqing introduced them to the customs and cultures of Yanzhou as they strolled the street, enjoying the freedom they had never had back in Yejing. After a while, Lady Yu got a bit tired, and An Changqing led her to a tea house to rest. The three of them and their two bodyguards had just sat down when they heard a storyteller slam the table and say in a resounding voice, "This time, let me tell you the story about the past lives of the northern warlord and his Wangfei. One was the god of war from the heavenly realm, while the other was the demon fox king of the demonic realm." The tea house patrons all cheered with enthusiasm, obviously eager for the new stories. And Changqing almost spit out his tea. It took him some effort to swallow it down, but it caused him to choke instead. He looked at the guards, who seemed to know something, with wide eyes, and tried to ask calmly, "What's going on?" Lady Yu was also surprised. And Xianyu was stretching out her neck enthusiastically, trying to catch the storyteller's words, as they had arrived late and were sitting at the back of the room. The two guards then proudly explained, "The people of Yejing have great admiration for Wangye and Wangfei. Many scripts singing your praises have been written and spread all the way to Yanzhou. When our scholars saw that, we naturally refused to fall behind. Wangye had been fighting for Yanzhou for so many years, and Wangfei has expended great effort in improving the people's lives. How can we lose to Yejing in paying homage to your highness and Wangye? Therefore, the scholars have been writing poems and other literature about the two highnesses." But poems weren't popular amongst the common folks. Storytellers preferred to weave fictitious scripts to tout the northern warlord and his Wangfei's popularity. At the moment, the most popular scripts were about Wangye and Wangfei's previous lives. Wherever this story was being told, the venue was sure to be packed. Even the soldiers in the camps had become the envy of the common people, simply because they get to meet Wangye and Wangfei every day. End chapter. The Tyrant's Beloved Empress. Chapter 70. Peeking at a script book. And Changqing had never been this embarrassed. He gulped down his tea cup by cup while his mother and sister, together with their guards, listened to the storyteller with great amusement. The group continued to listen as the storyteller raved about the love-hate triflings between the god of war and the demon fox king for half an hour. Afterwards, the storyteller hammered his gavel on the table, took a sip of tea, and said, "If you want to know what happens next, come to the next session. Ladies and gentlemen, please come again tomorrow." Being served with a cliffhanger, the audience were left disappointed and began to leave. And Changqing was sitting in the back, so no one seemed to notice him. And Xianyu then commented, "Yanzhou's script is bolder and grittier compared to Yejing's. It's indeed a place where the people are more open." What other scripts have you read? And Changqing asked her in surprise. His little sister was always disciplined and reserved. Most of her time spent at home were either on reading or needlework. To think that even she had read these recreational scripts, and Changqing found it incredulous. And Xianyu realized that she had made a slip of the tongue and quickly diverted, "It's getting late, shouldn't we leave soon?" And Changqing was indeed distracted by her urging. They had been outside for too long, it was almost time for dinner. As such, the group got back on the carriage and headed home. Back at the manor, Xiao's Higa had already returned and was having tea with his subordinates. Upon seeing An Changqing's arrival, Qi Wei and the others stood up and saluted. Xiao's Higa and An Changqing simply exchanged greetings and did not say much. It was Qi Wei whose eyes lit up the moment he saw An Xianyu and brazenly approached to introduce himself. "I've heard that Madam and the young miss have come to Yanzhou to stay. We are here to pay our respect. I'm Vice Lieutenant Qi Wei, from the Boling Qi family and have yet to be." Before he could finish, Xie Ling gave him a hard kick on the leg. Qi Wei glared back at him disgruntled, but he did not continue speaking. Seeing the several dignified-looking youngsters greet them with sincere courtesy in due respect towards An Changqing and Xiao's Higa, Lady Yu reciprocated with a smile and bowed humbly. Since everyone took the time to visit, it was customary to invite them for dinner. The kitchen had already prepared the meals. Traditionally, the ladies would be seated separately, but since Lady Yu and An Xianyu were the only ladies and the people of Yanzhou were always lax with social decorum, the group dined together at one big table. Because there were ladies present, the usually uncouth military men were more refined in their manner when eating and speaking. After the meal, Lady Yu and An Xianyu excused themselves and left for the inner courtyard. Qi Wei took a deep breath and slyly approached An Changqing. "Since we're all acquaintances, I'll be straightforward with Wangfei. Has your sister already been betrothed?" And Changqing was taken aback. He squinted his eyes and said doubtfully, "Not yet." "What's wrong?" Qi Wei rubbed his hands and snickered, "Isn't that just perfect? Since both sides have not made any marital arrangements, why don't we join our two families through this marriage?" Xie Ling at the back gave him another hard kick. "Whoever has proposed his own marriage before? How improper!" Qi Wei almost fell to the ground. He turned and stared angrily at Xie Ling and said, "A fake gentleman like you deserves to be single. Am I not discussing this with Wangfei first? If Wangfei agrees, I'll send a letter to my family and have them propose this marriage." And Changqing watched them argue for a while before clearing his throat and said, "Xianyu is my only sister, so for her marriage, I'll respect her decision." Speaking of which, An Xianyu had indeed reached the age of marriage. If it wasn't for the retracted betrothal, she would have already been engaged. Now that Qi Wei had taken the initiative to propose, and Changqing had also come to notice that Xiao's Higa's subordinates were quite good candidates. And Changqing gave it some thought but did not respond. He decided to discuss it first with Lady Yu and also ask for An Xianyu's opinion before making any decisions. Qi Wei was not discouraged and continued to sell himself. Xie Ling got annoyed with his boasting and gave him another kick. "It's time to get to business." Oh, only then did Qi Wei stop talking and remembered the purpose of their visit. Switching to a more serious expression, Qi Wei began his report. "The sweet potato fields are almost ready for harvest. The farmers tending the fields estimated the yield to be about 20 buckets. The sweet potatoes were planted in the 5th month. Thanks to the efficient fertilizer and irrigation, the crops grew exceedingly well. As expected, they were ready to be harvested by the later parts of the 8th month. Although he only read in a book that they could harvest almost 10 buckets of potatoes in the same acre of land as wheat, it was still unbelievable to see it with his own eyes. It was as though food was dropping from the sky. Even Qi Wei and the others were feeling unreal. "How should we deal with this large amount of sweet potatoes?" Xiao's Higa said, "Use one portion for military rations. For the rest, how does Nuno think we should handle it?" Let's have the officials promote the benefits of sweet potatoes to the people. We can keep a portion to use as seeds. Once the people are aware of its usefulness, they can use silver or food to exchange for the potato seeds and grow them on their own. This way, by next year, the people should be able to secure their food source. The sweet potato seeds provided a large yield. The plant itself could be eaten raw or cooked, and most importantly, it could stave off hunger. If the people could realize the benefits of preserving potatoes, Yanzhou could greatly reduce its yearly food shortage. And Changqing's decision coincided with Xiao's Higa's. Then I'll let Nu know and the local magistrates handle this matter. The pair went to discuss it in detail. Their harmonious exchange left Qi Wei and the others speechless. Once outside, Qi Wei then spoke to Xieling. Do you feel that Wang Fei is becoming more and more like Wangye? Xieling gave him an unsurprised look and said, you only realize that now? Qi Wei scratched his head and responded, no, but the feeling wasn't this strong before. At first, although they had the utmost respect for Changqing, that was mostly because he had delivered the rations during their time of need and that he was Xiao's Higa's Wang Fei. But from some point, the Wang Fei in their eyes had already held the same authority as their general. Any decisions made by Wang Fei, they will not question it nor feel the need to seek confirmation from Xiao's Higa. Just like how they have accepted Xiao's Higa as their supreme leader, they have come to accept Changqing with the same status. Dork, Xieling couldn't be bothered with Qi Wei. He shook his head and went ahead with big strides. After everyone had left, only Xiao's Higa and Changqing stayed behind. Changqing was already filled with thoughts and ideas on the introduction of sweet potatoes to the people and immediately went straight to the study. He jotted down a rough draft and decided to further refine these ideas with the old officials another day. Xiao's Higa did not disturb him either. He warmed a cup of tea for him and left it on the table. When he was done writing, Changqing drank the tea and stretched his back, preparing to return to the bedroom. Just as he was able to leave, the corner of his eye swept over a pile of books on Xiao's Higa's desk. This pile contains the documents Xiao's Higa was currently reading and Changqing rarely touched it. However, in today's pile, there was a brightly colored booklet that caught his eyes. Changqing sat back down and pulled out the eye-catching booklet. On the cover was an illustration of two handsome men. One was brave and dignified while the other was beautiful and mesmerizing. On the left corner was the title of the book in striking characters, Fallen Demon. On the next page were finely drawn pictures of the two, depicting their interactions in explicit, intimate ways. A short exposition was written as follows. When the fox demon learned of his identity as the god of war, to save him from being implicated, he broke off their relationship and resolved to never seeing him again. The god of war refused and the two began tussling back and forth. Finally, the angered god of war subdued the fox demon. Changqing. Why is it that even Wangye's study have such a book? The only people allowed to enter the study were him and Xiao's Higa, so if he did not put it here, then it's most likely. Changqing put the booklet into his sleeve and went back to the bedroom. Xiao's Higa was free from work after dinner and was practicing archery in the courtyard. Seeing Changqing's return, he put away the weapon and wiped the sweat before facing Changqing and said, "You're done." Changqing squinted at him and responded with an N. Xiao's Higa was still not aware that his unhidden item had been discovered. They went back and after taking turns to wash up, cuddled on the couch and chatted. Changqing focused his eyes on Xiao's Higa and willfully said, "Today, I accompanied Mother and Yu'er to the tea house to listen to stories. There happened to be an interesting one about the god of war and the demon fox king. Has Wangye heard of it?" Xiao's Higa's eyes twitched. He looked back at Changqing, who had no change in expression. It was as though he simply wanted to share the story. After some deliberation, Xiao's Higa replied, "No." "How does the story go?" Changqing now had a big smile on his face. What I heard this morning was only the words of the storyteller. The good thing is that I found a physical copy in the study just now. Why doesn't Wangye read it with me?" After speaking, he pulled the booklet from under the pillow and waved it in front of Xiao Zhiga. Xiao Zhiga's eyes twitched again as he tried to cover up the truth. Why is there such a book in the study? Exactly. I'm confused as well. If I didn't put it there, then who else could it be? He raised his eyebrows and spoke teasingly. Did Wangye secretly hide this behind my back? Xiao Zhiga was silent for quite a while before nodding awkwardly. However, he still maintained a straight tone and said, I wasn't exactly hiding it. And Changqing used his foot and lightly tugged Xiao Zhiga's leg. How come I didn't know that Wangye was interested in reading these scripts? Since the cat was out of the bag, Xiao Zhiga responded promptly this time. I heard that it was about our past lives, so I wanted to have a look. And Changqing placed the booklet between them and pointed to one of the pages. How's this anything like us? The illustrators were particularly bold to dare to paint such a scene. Xiao Zhiga saw Changqing flipping to the back pages and hurriedly grabbed the booklet away. He then nodded and agreed, it's nothing like us, but there is still something we can learn from it. Xiao Zhiga would never do anything against new nose wool, but there were several positions that they've never explored before. When Xiao Zhiga finally managed to coax the person to sleep, his conclusion was that he had to find a way to stop these stories from spreading. Although the stories were fictitious and did not resemble his new no, he still did not want anyone else to think of him in such an intimate pose. He should be the only one to see his new no this way. End chapter. The Tyrant's Beloved Empress. Chapter 71. Wangye is unwilling. By the end of the 8th month, all the sweet potato fields had been harvested. The yield was 2 to 3 buckets more than expected. After allocating a portion to be sowed the following year, the remaining were distributed to each district for local officials to promote the benefits of sweet potatoes, encouraging more farmers to plant and stock up on them. Although the people of Yanzhou were unfamiliar with this new crop, they have unshakable faith in the general and his Wangfei. When they learned that the general and Wangfei were encouraging the people to stock up on the sweet potatoes, everyone who could afford it took their food reserves or silver to exchange for the sweet potatoes. As such, Changqing was faced with another issue. Although the sweet potato yield was better than they had expected, it was still not enough to supply to every household in Yanzhou. Just as he was trying to figure out a way, Zhou Helan, who was given an assignment in the south, had returned with several wagons, currently waiting at the gate. Previously, Zhou Helan was tasked with establishing a trade route for the mined jades within the areas such as Qingzhou and Yangzhou. And Changqing did not involve himself with this matter. It was Xiao Zhiga who had been exchanging letters with Zhou Helan. Suddenly seeing Zhou Helan back at the manor, Changqing couldn't help but be surprised. His tone was slightly raised when he asked, Helan. Zhou Helan was a bit more tanned than when he left. He had grown a lot taller as well, and his facial features were a lot more pronounced. After the few months of toughening in the south, he had gained an air that Changqing had only seen in his previous life. Zhou Helan bent and saluted, Wangfei, this Helan has lived up to your expectation. Changqing smiled and asked the guards to open the gates and welcomed him in along with the wagons. After entering, Zhou Helan counted the goods before presenting them to Changqing. Only then did he realize that the whole caravan was transporting sweet potatoes. Seeing Changqing's pleasantly surprised expression, Zhou Helan explained, in a previous letter from Wangye, it stated that Yanzhou had started to cultivate sweet potatoes from Uze, but there was going to be a shortage. And so I had someone find a way and brought back more from Uze. Sweet potatoes in Uze were abundant and was inexpensive. The citizens of Uze mainly used them as feed for livestock and food reserves. As such, Zhou Helan was able to procure over 10 wagons cheaply and brought them back with him to Yanzhou. Changqing looked at the sweet potatoes and couldn't hide the big smile on his face. just as I was getting worried that we will not have enough. And Changqing had the servants line the wagons in the yard while he invited Zhou Helan for tea in the main hall. Xiao Zhiga had already been notified, and not long after, he arrived at the manor on horseback. When Xiao Zhiga entered, his first words upon seeing Zhou Helan were, "Do you have any news?" Zhou Helan nodded, then told the guards to withdraw, leaving only a middle-aged woman behind. "Yes, but it's not convenient to speak here." As the four headed for the study, and Changqing looked at Xiao Zhiga and Zhou Helan with questioning eyes. Xiao Zhiga then explained to him without being prompted, "I had previously sent a letter to Zhou Helan, asking him to find information on the mermaid tribe. Yes, southern counties shared a border with the Yuezhi Empire. It just happened that Zhou Helan had been sent to the south to do business, and with his loyalty to An Changqing, Xiao Zhiga was willing to divulge An Changqing's pregnancy to him, prompting him to conduct an investigation on the mermaid tribe in Yuezhi. Zhou Helan had received the task, but up until now, there hadn't been any progress. On the other hand, the jade business was booming day by day. And yet, this time, Zhou Helan had left it behind to return to Yanzhou. Upon hearing this, Xiao Zhiga knew that he must have found something. And Zhou Helan had indeed managed to dig up something. "Some time ago, I found a way to disguise myself and snuck past Yuezhi's border and into their capital. Along the way, I pretended to be a traveling merchant and continuously sought out information on the mermaid tribe, but to no avail. As region faces the ocean, many of the Yuezhi Empire's folk tales revolve around the sea. Even so, Zhou Helan couldn't find anything connected to the mermaid bloodline. He then changed routes and instead, searched for news on men who bore the red markings and the ability to give birth. As it turned out, he really did manage to find a woman with such knowledge. This is Lady Guo. She came from a family of physicians for generations, and her grandfather had once assisted a man in giving birth." Upon Zhou Heian's introduction, Lady Guo stepped forward and saluted with a slight awkwardness. She was a woman with a short build and plump body. She had a round and honest face. Seeing eyes of all the three people focused on her, she responded nervously, "Yes, I used to follow my grandfather during his medical visits and have seen him helping a man give birth. That man has red markings on his neck which look like fish scales." Xiao Zhiga tried to restrain his excitement and asked, "Does Lady Guo know midwifery? What's the difference between men and women giving birth?" But the lady shook her head and said, "I do not know. I was too young at the time, and my grandfather did not let me enter the birthing room." Before Xiao Zhiga could show his disappointment, Lady Guo continued, "Although I did not witness the process back then, I happened to find within my grandfather's belongings notes on the prenatal pulse analysis and the birthing procedures." She then pulled out a letter and handed it to Xiao Zhiga. After some hesitation, she added, "The writings might seem illogical, but it's definitely authentic. Back then, my grandfather was a well-known doctor in Fuliang. It's just that my skills were inadequate and I didn't inherit his talents." Xiao Zhiga flipped over the notes and saw the several scrambled words. "First of the 6th month, the patient is about to give birth. The fetus is in the abdomen, but men have no birthing canal. Only by cutting through a section of the abdomen can the baby be delivered." Xiao Zhiga's gaze fixated on the characters for cutting through a section of the abdomen for a long time before finally saying, "These notes are of great importance to me. Does Lady Guo have any requests? Whatever it is, I will offer it to you in exchange for the notes." Lady Guo turned to look at Zhou Helan and stammered, "Young Master Zhou had promised me 2,000 silver taels." Xiao Zhiga thought that she would demand an exorbitant amount, but unexpectedly, she only demanded 2,000 silver taels. Xiao Zhiga looked at Zhou Helan to verify and saw that he nodded. "That's correct. Lady Guo's daughter is seriously ill and needs a large dosage of expensive medicine. For her to come with me, I had promised her 2,000 silver taels." So that was the case. Xiao Zhiga was somewhat relieved. "I'll have the servants prepare the silver for Lady Guo. However, we still need to verify the authenticity of the notes. I would like to ask Lady Guo to stay in the manor for a few more days. After we have confirmed the notes' accuracy, we'll have someone escort you back home." Lady Guo thought briefly and nodded. After sending Lady Guo to her room, Xiao Zhiga had sent someone to get Hu Shifei. He then sat down and handed the notes to Cheng. In these notes, it clearly detailed the late doctor's first encounter with the pregnant man until his passing after giving it to his daughter. But the clearer the details, the more alarming the pregnancy process became. And perhaps there was an agreement with the patient, since the late doctor did not mention the patient's name or any other personal information. The only thing they could tell was that this patient was alone and his body was in a bad condition from the beginning. When the patient first came into contact with the late doctor, he was already 4 months pregnant. It was not obvious looking at his body, but the morning sickness was more extreme than that of a woman's. The worst part was that he was not able to eat and could only take plain porridge every day. His feet were also severely swollen, causing him much difficulty when walking. He was also highly sensitive to heat and had to stay in a dark room most of the day. And Chang frowned as he read on. Although he did not experience morning sickness or had his legs swell up, it was true that he did not do well in the heat. With this, he could partly tell that there is some truth to these notes. Because of the solemn events recorded in the notes, the atmosphere in the room had turned somber. By the time Hu Shifei arrived, he was greeted with 3 gloomy faces. He bowed and hurriedly accepted a stack of papers from Xiao Zhiga. "Look through these and see if it's credible," Xiao Zhiga ordered. Hu Shifei wasted no time and began flipping through the notes. For a long time, only the sound of pages flipping could be heard in the room. Finally, Hu Shifei spoke with excitement, "This Dr. Guo is quite extraordinary. So are the notes credible or not?" "It should be," Hu Shifei replied. "Many of the medical practices recorded in these notes can still be used today." Based on his account, his patient had a poor constitution, that's why his pregnancy afflictions were different from Wangfei. Wangfei is in good health, so there is no need to worry. However, this was not what Xiao Zhiga was worried about. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath before asking, "If Wangfei were to give birth, is it necessary to cut a section of his abdomen for the child to be born?" Hu Shifei hesitated and spoke honestly, "Yes. Men are different from women physically. Women are born with reproductive organs that men do not have. Actually, if the records about the mermaid clan were true, mermaids were not divided by gender and those who bore the red marks could give birth, then by right, those with the red marks should be different from ordinary people. They should have another set of reproductive organs. But when Yu Xiao was given a checkup, the boy was no different from that of an ordinary boy. And now with these notes, he could somewhat confirm his theory, either the records of the mermaid tribe were incorrect or that through the years, the mermaid people had intermarried and slowly lost their special traits. Just like in Changqing's mother, Lady Yu, who also carried mermaid blood but did not have any red markings on her and could still give birth to a son and daughter. There was absolutely no trace to connect her to the mermaid tribe. Even her youngest daughter, Xian Yu, was the same as her. Hu Shifei had speculated that the inheritance of this special trait could not be predicted and would mostly affect the male offspring. Upon hearing his words, Xiao Zhiga's face darkened and long silence ensued. When he spoke again, it was in a bleak tone, "What if, we don't want the child anymore? Can we have an abortion?" The moment they heard this, everyone was dumbfounded. And Changqing was the first to object and looked at him gravely. "Wangye." Xiao Zhiga was firm with Changqing this time and tried to explain, "It's too dangerous to perform such a medical operation. If anything were to happen, I would rather not have this child." And Changqing grimaced. At the moment, he was not sure what to say. He wanted to accompany Xiao Zhiga till their hair turned white, but he couldn't bear to give up the child that they had conceived. He had just finally accepted his addition to their family and now he had to let him go? He was not willing. There might be some other ways, and Chang Qing said in a low voice, I don't want to give this baby up. For the first time, Xiao Zhiga refused to listen to An Chang Qing. He grabbed his shoulder and with some hesitance, he said, if you like children, we can always adopt. You can choose how many you want, but I can't have you risk your life. He looked firmly into An Chang Qing's eyes and spoke with some hint of bitterness in his voice, I can live without having children, but I cannot lose you. An Chang Qing was at a loss. His hand unconsciously touched his abdomen, expressing his unwillingness. Zhou Helan interjected, trying to lighten up the situation, the patient in the notes has poorer health compared to Wang Fei and he still made it. Xiao Zhiga shook his head and said firmly, I refuse to take any risks. And Chang Qing was more important to him than his own life, how could he let him take this risk? The room once again sunk into silence. In the end, it was Hu Shifei who spoke up and offered his opinion, actually, it's not that dangerous. Wang Fei is in good health and I'm 80% confident that I can perform this medical operation successfully. On the other hand, if it's an abortion, Hu Shifei shook his head, I do not have much insight to offer. An aborticide for a woman might not be effective on Wang Fei. Using it recklessly could ensue unfavorable results. And Chang Qing heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing his words. He held Xiao Zhiga's hand, which had now turned cold, and squeezed lightly. He turned to Hu Shifei and Zhou Helan and said, I have to talk to Wangye. You can take your leave. Hu Shifei and Zhou Helan bowed and retreated after thoughtfully closing the door behind them. And Chang Qing wasn't keen on staying in the study. He shook Xiao Zhiga's sleeve and smiled, I'm a little tired, can Wangye carry me back to the room? Xiao Zhiga was still not speaking, but his gaze had softened. He squatted down to allow An Chang Qing to grab his back. An Chang Qing leaned his chest on Xiao Zhiga's back as his arms wrapped over his neck and his chin rested on his shoulder. Xiao Zhiga gently lifted him up and began walking back to their room. End chapter.